How many Dragon Stones can you expect from the 11th anniversary? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We are back for another Dokkan Battle video. In today's video, we have just about 2 days to the start of the countdown campaign for Dokkan Battle's 11th anniversary, and about 10 days away from the start of the actual campaign. So in this video, we're going to break down just how many Dragonstones you can expect from the campaign in its entirety. And the reason we are doing this is so that you guys can be prepared for what's coming up, right? We know that there will be there will be 4 LRs minimum, and by the end of it, you will be able to exchange any coins gathered during the summon for one of those LRs. So we want to know how many stones we're dealing with so we can know how close to that number we're going to get. So let's go ahead and let's jump on in to the first portion, which is the countdown campaign. Now, we're going to base most of what we're looking off of here from last year, the 10th anniversary campaign. The reason I'm going to base mostly off of that, with some tie-ins from the 9th anniversary here and there, is that I doubt Dokkan's going backwards. While 10th anniversary was the largest campaign to date, I do believe that Dokkan will continue the trend that it started here. So I imagine we'll see a similar set of Dragonstones, right? So starting with the countdown campaign, we have a couple things. So we have the countdown bonus, right? Which last year lasted for 10 days. We're going to assume it's going to start on the 10th, on the 20th, and go for roughly 8 days. So, but I believe the stone count will be the same, even though last year it lasted for 10 days. So the stone count from that from the login was about 15 stones. So 15 stones from the login bonus. We also have daily missions during this time. Continuing on from the previous campaign, and so there's about 12 stones there. 10 stones for the countdown period, and an extra 2 stones because one of them falls on the weekend. So all right, we'll go 12 stones there. So already we're starting with 27 stones there. Now I imagine we'll get some kind of Ginyu or Hercule login bonus. They'll do one of those. Now, if it lasts for the entirety of the campaign, you can get up to 70 stones if you got the Ginyu or the Hercule every single day. But, I mean, that's crazy. Most people can't do that. So let's just go on the lower side of things. And let's just say, right, for the countdown period, 7 stones is what you might get throughout that period. Right, because let's just say you get the bare minimum every day. You might get more. If you get more, then great, but if not, we'll go with that. So from there, right, we get a bunch of tickets. We have the returning campaign, and so if it's, I imagine it'll be the same, and if we end up hitting big numbers here, just like we did last year with returning steps, if we make it all the way to the EX step, we're expecting another 19 Dragonstones from there. So we're up to 53, a full multi just on that right there. Continuing on, we'll probably have 2 new challenge events issued here. It might be some Supreme Magnificent Battle or some new type of stage that they decide to add during this campaign. However, whatever it's going to be, right, if we assume it's similar to last year's, right, it's going to be just the first 3 stages plus 1 mission. So about 25 stones total here. So that'll be 50 stones total there, and for 2 events, so that's already 103 stones. That's 2 multis on your summons during the 11th anniversary. Moving on, we'll also have the virtual clash. Now, I'm assuming since it is an anniversary, we'll have a special anniversary ultimate clash, which, if it's just like last year, it should be about 43 dragon stones. They usually increase the amount that you can get. Now, we will also, by the time the anniversary starts, we will have the Dokkan Chance Time. Now, at a minimum, you can get if you followed my advice, at a minimum, you'll have 15 dragon stones. But if you kind of hedged your bets, you might have, or you could have 30. If you went all in, you're probably going to most likely end up with 0, but if you get lucky, you could get up to 105. I'm going to assume the bare minimum, which is 15 dragon stones. So obviously you could get more, but let's just assume that that's what we got. So that puts us at 161 dragon stones for the countdown campaign here. So really, really good there. That's a lot. That's that's a full rotation for that. And I mean, pretty much everything here is just all the returning events, easy A's, all that good stuff. So probably nothing here unless you didn't do that. So that's just for the countdown campaign, right? So next we want to take a look at the part 1 of the anniversary here. So let's start with part 1. All right, so part 1, once we start kicking off the anniversary, we got a lot of things coming. So starting with the live stream, right? It's 77 stones there. They usually give us around that. I think that's how much they gave us last year. So 77 stones. So let's assume it's going to be similar, right? From the live stream. So 77 stones from the live stream. We'll also get 30 stones on the first day of log in, right? So that already brings our total up to 268, right? Just by starting the campaign. Now, of course, we will have log in bonuses. So I'm actually just going to total out the log in bonuses for the whole campaign right here. So we don't have to come back to it. But the campaign lasts about 35 days. It will be 3 stones a day. That's usually what they do for campaigns. So 30 stones a day times 3. 3 stones a day times 35, right? That's 105 dragon stones per day that you are getting. So that brings our total to 373. Now, there will be missions. I believe the missions usually for anniversary range, I wasn't able to go back and check specifically on this, but missions for anniversary usually range anywhere between 15 and 20. So we're going to err on the side of 20 stones, because remember, this is going to happen. The missions are going to happen 3 times. They're going to refresh 3 times. So 20 stones here. There could be more. For the part 1 missions. And in fact, actually, hang on. I think I can pull something up here. Hold on. All right. No, not quite. So we've got where are we here? Let's come back to where we were. Okay. So we've got missions for 20 stones. So that brings our total to 393. And again, this will be 3 times throughout the campaign. Moving on, we have our Dokkan event. That's another 2 stones, 395. All right, we have our social media campaign. Where is that? It should be here somewhere. Here it is. The social media campaign. That's going to net us 7 stones, and that's going to happen 3 times. So this one I'll add up each time because I don't want to mix up the parts here. So, but it will be 7 stones from that. So 402, it's what we're at. Plus daily missions. That's the other thing I didn't count here. So daily missions, 35 days, right? So that's 35 stones plus 3 weekends during the campaign. That's an extra 6 stones, so another 41 stones there. Brings us to 443 up to part 1. Continuing on, we have I'm not going to count the Purunga here because I'm not sure if we'll get Purunga or not. If we do, right, there will be stones exchangeable for that. I think it's 15 stones in total throughout the entire campaign if they do it, but we're not going to count it because I don't know. They don't always do Purunga during anniversary, so we're not going to count it. Continuing on, Dragon Ore missions, not going to count those, but basically doing they had their own missions last year. I don't know if we'll get that again, but I do know that the BPAN missions that you get every week give you the same amount that you could collect every week, so there is that. Okay, moving on, we have Dragon Ball Story stages. Now, last year we got a ton of these. We got 4 of these, and this ended up being like 90 something stones between all 4 events. I doubt we're going to get something like that. In fact, I believe we're probably going to see something similar to what we've had in the past with 9th anniversary and before. In fact, I don't think we're going to go back to before 9th anniversary where we had like 2 TUR stages and 1 LR stage. I think from since 8th anniversary, it's been 1 TUR stage and 1 LR stage. We're going to assume that that's what we're getting. So let's just assume it's similar to the Frieza event for the TUR and similar to the Beerus event for the LR. And if we do that, we come out to we'll just total up the stones for the entirety of the stage right here. So on average, these stages give you there's usually about 8 stages on the TUR, and then on the LR usually about 6. So 16 and 12, 16 plus 12, and then missions for Awakening, about 7 stones between the 2 of them. That's going to give us 478 as our total there. Plus, you know what? We'll assume there's a DB story. There might be more than one, but let's assume 1. DB stories often increase the number of stages and tend to get you a lot more stones than you would usually get. So let's just assume 28 stones for a DB story. So that'll push us at 506 stones. So we're already by the part 1. Next, we have the 10th anniversary battle. Now, I believe this will get updated to 11th anniversary battle. Now, they might revamp the entire stage again, right, as they continue to add these newer equips for all of the units, right? So I could see them revamping the stages again. So we get, right, level 9 equips for everybody, or level 10 equips for everybody, as they continue to update it. If they do that, this is like 100 some odd stones. I'm not going to assume they're going to do that. I'm going to assume they're just going to add a new stage for the 11th anniversary. And if they do that, that's going to be another 12 stones, right? 2 stones for completing the 2 stages, the part 1 and the part 2 stage, and then 5 stones for the missions for each one. So that's going to be another 12 stones there. All right, so 518 is what we're at now. Coming back to the challenge events, I don't think we're going to have like 50 challenge events like we had during 10th anniversary. Again, I'm assuming at most 2 challenge events, a red zone, a supreme magnificent battle, something. Let's say 2 challenge events and having another set of stages added during this portion of the event. They usually add 3 more stages here, plus usually about 2 missions. So that's about 40, 3 more stages, so 5 stages each, 15. Okay, so that's about 40. All right, that's about 40 stones for each one, and so that brings our total to 593 by the end of part 1. And the rest of these, the orb stage, right? There'll probably be a new orb stage, so 1 stone for that. I did factor in super easy A's, but I actually factored those into part 2, so we'll come back to this, right? I doubt we're going to get a whole bunch this time, but we might get 1 or 2. And I factor that, so we'll factor that in a minute. But I mean, that's pretty much all we can assume we're getting here for part 1. So again, 594 stones by the end of part 1. So if you were coming into this celebration with at least 1,000 stones, that's already 1,500 stones you've got right there before the 3+1s go away in part 1. So next we're going to move on to part 2. All right. And part 2 is where things get a little tricky because the number of stones we get are going to drop down significantly. So starting from I think it started, that's the part 3. Okay, right here. All right, so starting from right here, right, we have our part 2. We have our Dokkan event, which is 2 stones, right? I'm going to assume these 2 are going to be, or actually it's probably the 2, where are they? these guys here. I'm assuming 2 EZAs, whether they are TUR EZAs or LR EZAs. I'm assuming 2 EZAs during part 2. And then, so that's 33 stones each. All right, and that gives us to 662 for there. Now, this could be split between part 1 and part 2, right? So it could be 1 EZA in part 1, 1 EZA in part 2. I mean, I obviously assume they're not going to do 11 EZAs like they did during the 10th anniversary, but I could see them doing maybe a super EZA during part 1 and 2 EZAs in part 2, or splitting this up between 1 and 2. Either way, the stone count is the same, so I just went ahead and factored it here. And then, like I said, I assume there will be at least 1 super EZA, maybe 2, let's say 2, so that's going to be 6 stones total. 668 is what we've got now. Of course, there will be another social media campaign for another 7 stones during this time, so 667. Then we will, of course, get our part 2 Ultimate Clash, which gives less stones the second time around. I think it's less than if I remember correctly here. Let's look here. They actually have it up here on the Reddit. So virtual class, it was part 3. It was 3 stones, so it was significantly less here. So 3 stones for that. So 683 is what we're up to. Moving on. Okay, so that puts us back at part 1. So we will also probably get another update, another set of 3 to 4 stages for the whatever the challenge event is. So let's assume another 40 stones each. Okay, 763 dragon stones by part 2. Moving into part 3, this is where things get a little tricky, right? So with part 3, of course, we're going to get more things. Obviously, this is actually when the update to the part 2 would happen. At the end of part 2 is probably when we'll get the update to this event, if it happens. Now, we'll get the final stages to the challenge event for part 3, which is usually only 1 or 2 stages with like 2 or 3 missions. So it comes out to about 20 to 25 stones each, depending on how many missions. Let's say 25 each. So that brings us to 813. There'll probably be some kind of burst mode, at least 1, maybe more, bringing at least 20 stones there. And then, of course, we will have the Anniversary LR EZA. So this year should be the 11th Anniversary LR EZA. Silly me. The 8th Anniversary LR EZA. So that's another 33 stones right here. All right, bringing us to 899. Now, I am assuming there is going to be 1 more LR EZA at the end, assuming the 8th anniversary part 2s, the Kai Goku and Int Kid Gohan. I'm assuming they are going to EZA here as well. So if they do, that's another 66 stones each, unless they make it a single event like they did with these guys, but I doubt it. I'm assuming there'll be 2 different events, and so that'll bring us to 965 for our total. So that is everything that is grindable during the anniversary. Now, last year's part 1 had a lot more, and that's again because of all of the EZAs, all of the all of the events, which I'm assuming this year for the 11th anniversary, there is not going to be that many events for available. It's probably going to be closer to 9th anniversary in terms of events. So even with the stacked part 1, the 10th anniversary by the end only ended up giving about 1,200 total by the end of it, which is still really good for an anniversary. It's pretty much on track for the anniversary. So I guess a little more if you extend into the part EX with the Daima Vegeta celebration and the extended EZAs that came with that, but we're not going to count that because I'm assuming that's not going to happen again this year. So 965 puts us pretty much on track. Then we have to factor in anything else, right? Which is the things like top grossing. I'm assuming that we will get top grossing at least once, and we will likely get it again in part 2. Even if we don't get it airing part 2, they will likely give us some kind of thanks instead, and so we will still get it. So 50 stones is top grossing during Anniversary, so if we assume that twice, that puts us at 1065, right? 1065 dragon stones. Then, of course, at the very end of the celebration, we will get the Supreme Thanks, which will give us another 30 dragon stones. So 1095 is what I would likely expect from the Anniversary, and that is a low ball estimate. Let me tell you that right now. That is a low ball estimate. This is based on what I'm assuming is going to be cut from the 10th Anniversary. They could very well add more and increase that number significantly, but 1095 to 1100 is pretty much on par for an Anniversary, right? So I'm assuming there could be more, but we just kind of went with the lowest estimate we could for each event. There could always be more, and obviously that's great if there is. So guys, that is it for our videos. 1100 Dragonstones is how much you can expect from the 11th Anniversary. Kind of fitting now that you think about it. The campaign should be starting here in 2 days for the countdown campaign. We should have the announcement for the characters, as well as, right, sort of an indicator of what we can expect in the coming weeks. If you guys like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let us know, how many stones are you walking into this Anniversary with, and how many do you plan on spending? If you don't spend, how much will you have by the end? That's actually going to be a really good number if you actually can do that. Either way, let us know what you're walking into the Anniversary with, and let us know how hyped you are for the 11th Anniversary. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.